let's talk about Ocean Productions Incorporated. Ocean Productions Incorporated, also known as Ocean Group, Ocean Media, or Ocean Studios, is a production company based in Vancouver, British Columbia, and they're well known in the anime fandom for adapting and localizing several popular properties, including, but not limited to, Gundam Wing, and a slew of other Gundam series, Ranma 1/2, Inuyasha, Mega Man NT Warrior, Cardcaptor Sakura, Escaflowne, Death Note, and, before Funimation switched to their own in-house cast, Dragon Ball Z. While at least half of those series will see their own proper retrospectives here, we're not focusing on any of them today. Today, we're going to talk about a very peculiar piece of adaptation via this prolific company, Ronin Warriors. Produced by Graz Entertainment and distributed by Sinar, Ronin Warriors aired on American television during the summer of 1995 and subsequently appeared through syndication as well as on the USA Network. It would find a more consistent home on Cartoon Network's Toonami block in 1999. Now, how does Ocean Productions fit into this specifically? Well, I believe Ronin Warriors may be a vital example of their adaptational work from this time period. But first, let's explore the product before they could put their fingerprints on it with the original. Uroiden Samurai Troopers, or Legend of the Mystic Armor Samurai Troopers, is the story about 5 teenage boys given mystical armor to protect the world from the evil Arago, who attempted to overtake the human realm 1,000 years ago. However, Chaos, a powerful warrior monk, managed to defeat Arago and banished his soul to the Netherrealm, leaving only his armor intact. Unfortunately, the armor would become a link for Arago to return for his vengeance in an attempt to claim the Earth as his own. He and his demon army are confronted by 5 young men known as the Samurai Troopers: Ryo Sanada, Zhu Huang, Seiji Date, Shin Mori, and Toma Hashiba. They are aided by Nasty Yagyu and the warrior monk Kaos. In Japan, Uroiden Samurai Troopers did so well in its initial 20-episode run that halfway through said run, they pulled the final episodes, rewrote them, and extended the series to 39 episodes along with 11 OVAs. Some might say to the detriment of the story. The localization.
Fantastic battle-armored samurai.
Talpa, the demon lord of the Netherworld, is bent on conquering the mortal realm. Standing against him and his 4 dark warlords are the 5 Ronin warriors: Ryo, Sage, Sai, Kento, and Rowan, each in possession of mystical armor and weaponry. They are assisted by Miyakoji, a young student teacher, and a mysterious warrior monk known only as the Agent. By the mid-90s, anime being adapted for US television had already become acquainted with heavy localization, involving changes to names, plot points, visual content, dialogue, and music. But where Ronin Warriors changed things up was with its embracement of the original's heavy focus on Japanese mythology and spirituality, as well as retaining its geography and nationality of its characters. This series took place in Shinjuku. The characters are Japanese, with the exception of Kento Rei Feng / Zhu Li Huang, and there was no attempt to localize the series to the extent of its contemporaries. This would extend to its darker subject matter. The acknowledgement and presentation of death and violence was not shied away from, and the story was kept intact. They would even retain the original background music, though the opening and closing were switched out for original pieces. Otherwise, Samurai Troopers would see comparatively little in terms of adaptation in the States, which is not to say that no significant changes were made. As you'll notice, nearly every single name as well as techniques are altered or changed outright. Ryo Sanada gets off lightly, with only the pronunciation of his name being changed to Ryo Sanada. Zhu Li Huang becomes Kento Rei Feng, Seiji Date becomes Sage Date, Shin Mori becomes Sai Mori, and Toma Hashiba becomes Rowan Hashiba. Kaos becomes the Ancient, and, well, Nasty Yagyu becomes Miyakoji, for obvious reasons. All the villains undergo radical changes as well, with Arago becoming Talpa, and his 4 demon generals, known in the dub as Dark Warlords, are given names to reflect the ancient Egyptian gods. Oddly, however, Shutendoji becomes Anubis, while Anubis becomes Kale? While they were comfortable with the history, location, and nationality of the story and characters involved, the American team most likely felt that more traditionally Western names would stick with kids. It reminds me a lot of Digimon's adaptation, actually. Oh, yeah, you know we're gonna have a field day with that one. The openings, Stardust Eyes and Samurai Heart, as well as the endings, Far Away and Be Free, are cut entirely, replaced by classic cheesy 90s fare, complete with narration and a repetitive chorus reminding you that this is, in fact, Ronin Warriors. The changes don't end there. While there may be little in terms of cuts for content, including violence and even nudity, the dialogue does have some cornier lines peppered throughout it, likely in an effort to lighten up the atmosphere and endear it to the kiddos.
That does it. I don't want to end up like sliced salami.
Up here, Buckethead!
What?
Big talk for a tin can. Can you back it up? Eat concrete!
And one of the biggest and most boggling changes they made to the story had to do with a certain additional character they created for the dub, Hariel. See, the American manufacturer for Ronin Warriors figures, Playmates Toys, insisted the show make up a new character for the Inferno Armor version of Ryo, thinking the target audience would be confused by the existence of two Ryo figures. This resulted in the dub-only character of Hariel, the ancient owner of the Inferno Armor. But how does this tie into Ocean Productions in particular? What about this contains their DNA? Well, one of the most obvious things at the forefront of the dub, with specifically the actors, is, well...
I'm Sai of the Torrent! Trust is my symbol!
If you came here to fight, then fight, demon.
I'm Rowan of the Armor Strata.
Who will be my champion of destruction?
Besides Matt Hill's heavy West Coast surfer dude Canadian accent with Ryo, Michael Donovan's painfully put on British accent for Sai, Walt Perry's odd New York dialect for Rowan, and Talpa's Welsh accent provided by actor Mina E. Mina. It seems they were dead set on making the cast come off as more cosmopolitan than it actually was. Also, Mike Donovan had to find some way to differentiate his voice while playing both Sai and Sage. And considering the geographical nature of the production, the dub is rather rampant with Canadian accents.
But my mom will be really happy if she comes home and finds out that I've looked after a garden for her.
Grandpa, what's the matter with you?
Someday, if another evil force again emerges into the world.
This was entirely common of Ocean Productions in their earlier days, Dragon Ball rife with these sorts of flares in the voice direction, as well as many of their other 90s dubs. But one less commonly recognized feature of their adaptational work was their sound effects. While they left the BGM unchanged, although they rebalanced it throughout, Ocean Productions had a habit of incorporating their own sound library to punch up the original audio from time to time. Other notable adaptations featuring this include Ronin Warriors is one of the earliest examples of what would become Ocean Productions staples, primarily in their adaptations for children's television. Also noteworthy is that in the second episode of the dub, a lot of the cast ended up being temporarily replaced due to a reported flu bug that had hit the studio rather harshly. Peter Wilds filled in for Richard Newman on Kale.
Admit it, they were way tougher than you thought.
These young warriors seem to possess some greater power.
As well as filling in for Matt Smith on Dice.
Yes, they could still be out there.
You underestimate them. They may prove more than a match for you.
Ward Perry filled in for Jason Gray Stanford on Kento.
Call me Kento, a hard rock.
What do you say I give you a hand? We'll beat them back into the hole they crawled out of.
And Terrell Rothery filled in for, oh goddammit, Lelania Lindbjer on Miyakoji.
Look on the TV. Isn't it strange?
Oh.
He just appeared.
I'm an assistant at Shinsha University. I teach ancient legend and mythology.
In the OVAs released in the early 2000s, years after the TV series had ended in the United States, Andrew Francis, Matt Smith, Maggie Blue O'Hara, and Danny McKinnon took over for Kento, Sage, Miyakoji, and Yuli, respectively. If you came into this unfamiliar with Ronin Warriors, that's not surprising. The series never truly took off in any of its initial time slots or locations, finding most of its limited success on Cartoon Network. But for many, Ronin Warriors was a touchstone of anime's developing identity in the US. In 1995, Power Rangers mania was at a fever pitch, and the concept of a group of young adults being able to transform into color-coded superheroes was a craze that, to this day, would become a staple of kids' action entertainment. Of course, the Japanese were more than familiar with the Sentai formula, but for us Americans, it was a brand new flavor that we were still dying to get a taste of. It was a rare anime of its type to get a dub, and a particularly faithful one at that, and hit nearly the perfect time to take off. Ultimately, it was poor scheduling that hindered it, along with admittedly dated animation. Whether or not the changes in the adaptation aided or hindered it is a pretty tough call, though I'd suggest that the name changes may have made it easier for kids to memorize them, and the colorful cast of Ocean veterans, well, maybe not at their A-game here. Actually, let's be honest, even their B stuff has a remarkable charm all its own. Definitely gave it a unique personality. The series did get a full DVD release in the US, along with its Japanese counterpart in 2002, including its OVAs, and though Ronin Warriors is unfortunately currently out of print, Yoroiden Samurai Troopers is available on Crunchyroll, and you can find home copies on Amazon. That was fun! Sorry this one took so long, I got a bit overwhelmed by work these last few months, and to be entirely honest, research on this show was kinda tough, but I think you're gonna enjoy what I'm tackling next. See you next time!